All right, today on Backyard Broadheads, we are working on a Ravin crossbow. We're going to be checking the timing on the cams, and we're also going to be checking the cam lean. And then after we check that, I will show you how to adjust and fix the timing on the cams, and also how to fix the cam lean. This is going to be similar for most Ravin crossbows, like the R9 through the R29X. It's not going to be the exact same for the R18, obviously, and it's not going to be the exact same for the R500, though it might be similar. And a lot of the stuff that we're going to go over would probably apply to other crossbows that I'm not as familiar with. So let's jump into checking the timing first, and then we will check the cam lean. All right, so here is the crossbow, and we're going to take a look at the right side cam first. Try to keep you in focus as much as I can, but the autofocus is going to fight me a little bit here, I'm sure. So on your cam, you can see these two yellow dots. You have this one here, and you have that one there. From the factory, they're not yellow, they're just impressions into the cam. So I recommend you get a paint marker, fill that in with a bright color, and then just take your finger and wipe off the excess. And that makes this whole process way easier. Now, if I'm like this, you know, you can see here's your top cable, here's your bottom cable. And if I'm like this on the other side, top, bottom, what you're going to want to do is move over to where your top cable is covering your bottom cable. So you want to get right on center there. And then take note of where you're at with the timing dot. So I'm basically between the dots, but I am covering most of that front dot. So as far as timing, that's okay. You just want to remember that for whenever you go to check the other side. So we're going to do the same thing over here. Try to get you guys in focus first. There we go. And then we're going to try to look straight down over top of everything here. So I'd say right about there. Same thing. You're covering most of that front dot. So timing wise, this thing is great. So one of the major reasons why everything is lining up with this crossbow is because I have strings and cables from Perry Valley Bowstrings, and when I got them originally from him, I think I only had to do half a twist on one cable, and that got my cam lean and my timing right where it should be. Also got my crossbow back to shooting its factory stated speed of at least 430 feet per second. So I was pretty happy about that. His information is in the description below. All right, that is our timing. Now, if our timing was off, I'm going to show you what to do. Okay, so what we're going to pretend like is that the other side is okay. It's in between the dots. And then we're going to pretend like this side, that front dot is covered up. So it would look like this. You can see the back dot, but we're going to pretend like that front dot's covered up. So with that being the case, so if that dot was covered like that, then this cam would need to be twisted to the right to get it to where it needs to be. So it would be like this as we look straight down, and it would need to go to the right. So to adjust that, assuming that your cams are level, you would need to make adjustments to both of these cables at the same time, because you don't want to unlevel your cam, which we are going to get to cam leveling later. So you would have to adjust both of these. Now if you look at this, it comes around this orange circle right here, and it hooks on here, and it kind of looks like it would pull this cam in that direction because it's hooked on here, but it's not. Here's the middle of your cam, and here's the orange thing that the cable goes around. So if you tighten these, if you make these shorter, it's going to pull your cam that way, which is what we would need. If that top dot was covered, we would need this to twist to the right to expose it some. So what we're looking at is the right side of the crossbow, and we're looking at tightening up the right side cables, and I'm going to show you how you would do that on a press. All right, if you're just starting out with a press for the first time, then you might think that you need to have a cable coming down from the ceiling just as a safety to hold the crossbow. And if you want that, it's fine. You can do it the first time, and you can do it forever. But I found that, you know, once you tighten it up in the vise a little bit, it's going to hold it in place. So let's get this bipod out of the way. And I much prefer this type of press. This is the, let's see, Easy Green crossbow press. I prefer this because you don't have to take off your scope or your rail for the scope or any accessories like your crossbow mounted rangefinder, and it's pretty easy to get in to everything you have to work on. Okay, so everything's touching now, and once I get some pressure on there, you know, here's both my hands, I can let go. It's going to hold the crossbow in place. So you're going to just want to make this tight enough to where, remember, we're working on the right side of the crossbow, which is over here now, to where these cables are loose enough to come off. So that doesn't seem loose enough yet. So I'm going to go a little bit further. What I would be doing is I'd be taking off this bottom cable, right like that, and I would just grab it and I would give it 1/2 of a twist to the right. I don't want to do it to this one just because everything's already good. I would put this back on. I would pop off this top one, same thing, 1/2 of a twist to the right. Now as I'm working on this stuff, I have these little plastic automotive tools that, you know, don't have any sharp edges that are going to cut anything, but this one comes down to a nice little point there, so you can get in, like if that wasn't in there all the way, you can get in there and push on it. Now before you go to let this back up, what I like to do is push right here and make sure you're around your orange circles, and make sure that your cable ends are on, these cable ends are on. Other side, same thing, push down, takes the slack out, make sure everything is in the proper place. And you need to do the same thing with your string. I'm not saying to push on it, but make sure it's in the groove and hooked on how it should be. Start to loosen up some and keep an eye on everything, top and bottom, all 4 cables and your string. Make sure everything is where it should be, and everything on the right side and left side should be getting tight at the exact same time. So if you have 1 or 2 loose cables and 1 or 2 tight cables, stop, look, and figure out what's wrong, squeeze it back down and get it where it should be. So we just spin that out, lift it up out, grab your bipod and go back to the bench. Okay, so after doing that, our right side's about where it should be because we just put it back where it was. Left side, same thing. It is about where it should be. Also, what you're going to want to do as you're doing this is shoot the crossbow some between steps, and that's going to get everything back seated how it should be, you know, before you do your final checks and assume you're done. You can also, you know, shoot it for a week, you know, wait a week, wait 2 weeks, whatever. Just keep an eye on things and adjust as needed. As I mentioned before, the Perry Valley bowstrings, I'm really happy with their performance and quality. All right, now let's move on to cam lean. So just to make things easier, I'm going to put a block under the back of my crossbow, just so the back end is pitched up so I can see better. So let's take a look at that. All right, so we have our crossbow over there, block here, and we're just going to set that up like that. That way I can get in the back here, and that's the angle you're going to need to check your cam lean. The other thing you're going to need is a straight arrow. These are my Reaper FOC arrows, not this one, but the other 2. Reaper FOC arrows from AJ's Custom Arrows, John Smith. His information is also in the description below. All right, so you're going to need a straight arrow. And what you're going to do, and you're going to want to have your sled out of the way, so your sled should be back here. You're going to set your arrow across there, and you're going to hold down right here, right in the middle of the cam, put pressure down on that arrow. And then on the left side, you're either going to be above the left cam, or you're going to be slightly below the left cam, or it's going to sit right on top of it. Now right now it's sitting on there, but I don't know if it's because I'm holding pressure or not. So I have to come off of that cam, and as I slide it in, you can hear it's hitting that left cam. Now you can't get this perfect because you can only go half a twist. You have to go at least half a twist on any cable in order to pitch this cam as needed. So with this cam, currently, it is pitched down too much. So you would have to shorten your bottom cable, which would pull this limb in, and that would bring it up a little bit. But I just know from doing this that that little bit of difference, that 1/16 of an inch, whatever that is, where it's just barely hitting that cam, if I adjust it, it's probably going to bring it up too much. So that's probably good right there. I mean, if you want to try it, you can. I think it's probably good. Maybe I'll mess with it, maybe I won't. But for now, I just want you to understand that. So that's that side. Then you go and you do the same thing on the other side. You're going to hold pressure down here, and you're going to go to that other cam. Now this one I can see there's a gap. So this one is slightly tilted like this. And if you wanted to correct that, you would shorten this cable, so you'd add half of a twist to this cable, and that would bring that cam down a little bit. I'm just exaggerating everything. Now this one is, I can just see, is very close, and I'm pretty darn sure you're not going to get that any closer. And that's, if your crossbow stays like that forever, it's fine. It's not a problem. All right, when you are doing this on your crossbow, you're gonna wanna check your timing and check your cam lean at the same time before you make any adjustments, because there is a chance that one adjustment could fix both problems. So let's say that your left cam timing was good, and with your right cam, your front dot was covered, so you needed this to twist to the right some. And we'll also say that this cam was not level, so you needed to make this bottom cable shorter to make this cam pitch this way more. So with that, when you do pitch this, you're making this shorter. That's also going to pull that way and uncover your front dot some. So that's a scenario where making one adjustment is going to fix both problems. So as I mentioned, check your timing and your cam lean both before you make any adjustments. All right, so now another scenario. Let's say you get to this point and your cams are level, your timing is even, but your timing is not between the dots. So you have two options, and I would go with the second option. One option, you can make the same adjustment to all four cables, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can make one adjustment to one end of your string. It doesn't matter which end you make it an adjustment to, but you know, it's either going to be right here, take this off and adjust that, or it's going to be right here. You're going to take that off and adjust that. The string doesn't care. If you make that string a 32nd of an inch shorter, it doesn't matter if you did it on this end or if you did it on that end. What that's going to do, let's say that we add half a twist to this. So if you look at our timing marks, that's going to pull everything that way. Here's your center, and here's where the force is going to be. So it's going to pull everything that way, and it's going to cover that timing mark more. So if anything, with this setup, you'd probably be removing half a twist to get those dots more in center, even though right where they're at right now is fine. I'm just showing you for explanation purposes. And I did talk to Dave at Perry Valley Bowstrings, and I asked him about limits with his strings and cables. And what he said is that if you do have to go more than 2 full turns with anything, just give him a call and you guys can talk through what's going on, because there's probably something that's not right, and that way you guys can just try to figure out what it is. All right, that's all I have for you today. Hopefully you learned something, and you can go to backyardbondage.com to check out the crossbow accessories that I make.